Shalom, family. This is Yuda. Today we're going to take this big piece of meat and eat all the meat and throw out the bone. By the time I'm finished with this lesson, you'll know what the bone is. We're talking facts and fiction. We're going to examine the genealogy of the so-called Messiah, JC, or as the world knows him, Jesus. Facts and fictions. Genealogy of Jesus chart, the family tree. The New Testament provides two accounts of the genealogy of Jesus. One in the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 through 17, and another in the Gospel of Luke, Luke chapter 3, verse 23 through 38. The family tree of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew starts with Abraham and mentions that there are 14 generations from Abraham to David, and 14 generations from David to the exile, and 14 generations from the exile to this guy. The lineage of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke gives the same lineage, but it includes his ancestors all the way to Adam. Now in the Torah, or Book of Remembrance, it was prophesied that the Savior, namely the Messiah, would come from the tribe of Judah and from the line of King David. The Messiah from the tribe of Judah. Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. The scepter, the symbol of kingship, shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of the people. Now the Messiah from the line of King David. Jeremiah chapter 23, verses 5 through 6. Behold, the days are coming, says the Most High, that I will raise to David a branch of righteousness. A king shall reign and prosper and execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will dwell safely. Now this is his name by which he will be called, the Most High, our righteousness. The Messiah from the line of King David. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 1. There shall come forth a rod or shoot from the stem or trunk of Jesse, David's father, and a branch shall grow, be fruitful, out of his roots. Both Gospels of Matthew and Luke provide genealogies of Jesus that confirm he was a descendant of King David and therefore the legitimate promised Messiah. But they differ in an important point. Matthew follows the line of David's son Solomon, while Luke follows the line of Nathan, who is another son of David. This results in two distinct genealogies, and some argue that either Matthew or Luke got it wrong. In Matthew's account, the lineage of Jesus goes back to King David through his son Solomon, and in Luke's account, through his son Nathan. Matthew has 27 generations from David to Joseph, whereas Luke has 42. The two accounts also contradict each other on who Joseph's father was. Matthew says his father was Jacob, while Luke says he was Heli. They are two completely different genealogies, and they contradict each other. But that's not the only difference. If we read Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 through 17, and Luke chapter 3, verse 23 to 38 carefully, we can clearly see that both Gospels present the genealogy of Joseph, who is the adoptive father of Jesus, not his biological father. The first question that arises is, if Joseph is not the biological father of Jesus, Why do the writers of both Gospels provide his bloodline instead of providing the bloodline of Mary, who is the biological mother of Jesus and therefore the only one biologically related to him? Furthermore, since both bloodlines are presented as the family trees of Joseph, one might come to the conclusion that he had to be somehow involved in the conception of Jesus. And this, in turn, would deny the virgin birth of Christ. This would also make Joseph the biological father of Jesus instead of his adoptive father, and Mary not a virgin at the time of conception, right? And if it was so, since Joseph and Mary were only engaged and not yet legally married, they would have been found in fornication, according to the Most High's law, and both would have been stoned to death as transgressors. Similarly, since both genealogies are presented as the family trees of Joseph, who was the adoptive father of Jesus, not his biological father, you cannot actually establish that Christ is a direct descendant by blood of King David, or that he is a descendant from the tribe of Judah. In order for Jesus to be accepted as the promised Messiah by the people of Israel, he would have been expected to be from the tribe of Judah and a descendant of King David. Matthew begins by calling Jesus the son of David, clearly indicating his kingly origin, but fails based on all current translations of the Bible. To demonstrate that Jesus was a biological descendant of King David, if we cannot prove this, we cannot prove that Jesus is in fact the long-awaited promised Messiah, and this would be a huge problem. Bible scholars at various times have come up with all kinds of probable explanations. The only problem is that each explanation is not supported by what we find in the text, nor by any of the original manuscripts in the Greek language. They are all desperate attempts to find a solution, where the text in fact provides none. One of the earliest explanations given by the church historian Eusebius 265 to 340 AD, is that Joseph's father was married to his brother's widow in a levirate marriage, a Jewish practice according to which if a married man died childless, his brother was expected to marry the widow, and their eldest son would be legally considered to be the son of the deceased first husband. So, according to this theory, one genealogy would be for Joseph, Joseph's uncle, and one genealogy would be for his biological father. According to Eusebius' supposition, Heli and Jacob were half brothers. Heli died without an heir, and so his brother Jacob married Heli's widow, who then gave birth to Joseph. So, based on this elaborate story, Joseph was the son of Heli, legally, but the son of Jacob biologically. Consequently, the Gospels of Matthew and Luke both give in Joseph's genealogy, but Luke follows the legal bloodline while Matthew follows the biological bloodline. But this interpretation is totally made up. The Greek text does not substantiate this theory. Another explanation is that Matthew's genealogy is the royal bloodline of Jesus, and Luke's genealogy is the natural bloodline of Jesus. But there is nothing in the text that would indicate that. This interpretation is totally made up as well. Again, these are all desperate attempts to find a solution where in fact the text provides none. Another creative explanation that the Bible scholars have come up with is that the Gospels of Luke is recording Mary's lineages, while the Gospel of Matthew is recording Joseph. They say that since there was no Greek word for son-in-law, Joseph was called the son of Heli by marriage to Mary. According to this theory, Mary would be the daughter of Heli. This opinion is held by some conservative Christian Bible scholars who find it unimaginable that the bloodline of a man would be traced through his mother's side of the family in a patriarchal society. And when it was, the husband would be named instead of her, and she would remain invisible. Unfortunately, this explanation is also totally made up and in direct contrast to the Bible itself. The word of the Most High had already plainly stated that the Messiah would come from the woman back in Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between you, the serpent, and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. This was never a secret. It was common knowledge since the fall of mankind. So why would the Bible hide it now? The text does not say anywhere that Mary was Heli's daughter, because she was not, and to say that Joseph was called the son of Heli by marriage to Mary is pure invention and a desperate way to find a solution where, again, the text clearly provides none. Additionally, although this interpretation is the only one that will prove that Jesus is a descendant of David, it still wouldn't make him eligible to be the Messiah, as the Gospel of Luke traces the genealogy of Jesus to King David through his son Nathan, but the Messiah had to be a descendant of David, his son Solomon. But the Messiah had to be a descendant of David through his son Solomon, according to 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12 through 14. When your David days are filled, he's talking to David, are fulfilled, and you rest with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, who will come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name. That was Solomon, because he built the temple, not Nathan. And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. This explanation just does not make any sense either. So, how can we explain the differences in the genealogies of Jesus? The answer can be found only if someone takes the time and makes the effort of doing some serious research, goes beyond all available translations, and looks at some of the original texts of the Gospels with the determination of finding the answer. When the answer is found, everything falls in place and makes perfect sense, as it should, as the word of the Most High is perfect. This chart of the genealogy of Jesus is based on our research into this age-long problem, and shows our exciting findings.